Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we are going to be talking about a topic, I guess you could say, that as I was going through my mind of this video, I think it's been a topic that has been thoroughly discussed throughout the course of Yu-Gi-Oh! History, going through my Yu-Gi-Oh! History archives in my mind, I guess you could say, to some degree. But yes, I'm surprised I've actually never talked about this topic ever before. I went through my archives to see if I had, and I never had done this topic before. And that topic is there such a thing as pro players in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Quote unquote. And first off, I want to admit to you guys, I don't want to ruffle any feathers in doing this video. And if I do, make you upset or mad about what I'm talking about, I do apologize in advance. We're just having a general discussion here. So, first I want to get some things off my chest and just talk about it. I personally feel like that some people in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community hold certain players up to a higher standard. Players that have done very well for themselves in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm talking about people that have topped multiple events over the course of their Yu-Gi-Oh! Career, I guess you could say. People like Billy Brake, Jeff Jones, Fraser Smith, Patrick Hoban, etc. They've topped major events, they've topped consistently, they've been known for their innovation, they're well known, I guess you could say. We're going to get back to that well-known part a little bit down the road. But some players in the community hold these players up to a very higher standard. And I feel like sometimes it's, I guess you could say, more than just, you have to remember, they're humans, no matter what you think. Even though they've topped multiple YCSs, some of these guys, they're still humans, and they do make mistakes. But they're well-known players, and we look to them for innovation, for meta analysts, for things of this, because of their knowledge over the course of their playing career they've probably done, and playing competitive meta for long stretches of time. We look to them for this. And that is all well and good, but does that classify these players as pro players? And before I get into what makes a pro player, what's the definition of a pro, I'm just going to say this also as well. Some of these guys I've actually looked up to throughout my course of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Some of these older school players that no longer play, you probably never even heard their names before from back in the day, but I've always looked up to them back then because of what they did and what they stood for. People like Fraser Smith, Billy Brake, and Jeff Jones, I've always looked up to some degree because of their playing style, the way they hold themselves, the way they talk, the knowledge of the game. Fraser Smith I've always looked up to ever since he topped with Gravekeepers at YCS Atlanta back in the day. I was so proud back then. Billy Brake and Jeff Jones I've always looked up to as well. And reading their articles that they used to do back in the day, I just could see, I felt the way they looked at the game is kind of the same way I looked at the game to some degree in some aspects. So they were relatable to me to some degree. So that's why I've always looked up to those guys. But do I hold them on a pedestal? No. I think they're just, they're the same as you and me. They're human. Okay? But let's go into now the definition of a pro, quote unquote. So the definition of a pro, according to Britannica, is a professional, especially in sports, a person or an event, a professional golfer. So like a professional event, golfing event or something like that. So, okay, it doesn't say anything about money, but I think because it says sports, most people that play sports somehow make a living off of it. Not that many Yu-Gi-Oh! Players I know personally make a living off the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't mean like they can just, make a living. I mean, I make a living off Yu-Gi-Oh! But I'll talk about that in a second. But the money they make, they can live off of. They don't have to have a job. They don't have to have anything else to do. No, they can just live off the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I can't think of a single Yu-Gi-Oh! Player that literally does that. Maybe Patrick Hoban, maybe some of the ARG guys, but I think they already have jobs on the side as well. So I'm just saying, I feel like if that's the case, of the definition of a pro player, then there is no pro players in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And like many other people have said, there's no such thing really as a pro because they're not making money off of it. And that's true. I mean, look at Pokemon, look at Magic, that's been around for 20 years now, I think Magic has been. Oh my gosh, and Pokemon's been around just as long as Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, 16, 17 years? I feel very old right now saying that. But those people are able to play in cash tournaments consistently, make some good money, and consistently, with that money, build more powerful decks, going forward, make a living off of it to some degree, go to these major events and keep going to them and topping and doing good and winning events. That is true. And that's something that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always been lacking, and I've talked about this before. You can't really be a pro player without making a living off of it. And another thing is, going back to talking about, these people are well known, but if the qualification is a well-known player that makes money to some monetary value, then I guess I'm a pro player. I'm just joking, by the way. I'm just saying, I don't consider myself a pro player. I consider myself a good player, I guess you could say, but I'm not the best ever, is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like I said earlier, the community puts these players up on a higher pedestal and looks to these players. Good examples. When Patrick Hoban ran, upstarts and recklesses in his deck, remember how many freaking people for about 2 months ran upstart and reckless in every single freaking deck and told you that if you did not do this, you were a bad player. Also, remember when Patrick Hoban, yeah, it's like a bad old joke. Remember when Patrick Hoban freaking, sided out the Daigen releaser? And people said, well, that's a scumbag move. Oh no, that's a smart move. There was back and forth things. It's because people hold some of those players up to a certain standard. If they don't meet those standards, like, oh my gosh, I looked up to you, but you let me down. You gotta remember, they're human. But, Billy Brake and everybody else has their same stories. When I think it was Jeff Jones topped with, Jeff Jones topped with the Psychic Grand Sorter deck at, I think, YCS Toronto years ago. People freaking picked up on that deck, even though it was his own creation. They looked at that deck and they said, oh my gosh, that's the good deck, I'll build that deck. And a lot of those cards spiked up in price because people looked up to him. Some people have said many times, good example again with, I think it was it with Billy? Yeah, it was with Billy, I think it was. Or was it Jeff? I can't remember. But when Rainbow Karibo came out and Light Swarms were a thing about a year ago, he just mentioned in an article Rainbow Karibo because it represented gay pride, I think it was. And as soon as he mentioned it, Rainbow Karibo went up to like a $20, $30 card. He didn't even say it's a good card. He just mentioned it, and it went up in price. That's what the power some of these players have. Saying that, that's something that you can't just say, well, that's, true or not. You can't, is that a pro player? No, I think that's a different category than a pro player. I think a pro player, stated as before, is someone who makes money. That's not true. I mean, you make a living, I guess you could say, instead of making money. Because I make money off of Yu-Gi-Oh, but I put it back into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh. So it's kind of like its own entity. I put money in, it comes out. It's just a cycle, pretty much. I mean, the money I made off the Google AdSense I've had, I used to make different decks for you guys to showcase for you and play myself to have fun. Dark Magician deck that I have with Tamias and everything is directly linked to this channel, because without the money from this channel, that deck would not exist. Thank you, the viewers, the subscribers, for that opportunity to play Dark Magician. But saying that, back on track here. I don't think there's anything as a pro player because they don't make money. I think that also, coming to a conclusion here, we look up to these players a little bit too much than we should. At the end of the day, what does it say? Like again, class, what does it say on the back of the packaging? Ages 6 and up. This is a children's card game. Yes, we can go on that to another video one day, but just saying, this is a children's card game. But then Magic and Pokemon, yeah, I get it. But saying this, conclusion guys, I don't think there's such thing as a pro player. I think there are good players. And I think there's many good players than what you and I would consider a good player in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But the fact of the matter is, some of these mediocre to good players are not able to do good at events because they don't want to spend the money on these meta decks. That's another discussion for another day, but me, I don't want to play meta because I don't want to invest in it. There's no incentive for me to become a, go to a YCS and try to become a pro player, because I mean, even if it was a thing, unless I was making, able to make money off the game from going to these major events and topping at them, why is the incentive of playing a top tier deck? But I'm going on to another discussion, another topic. As you can see, this one topic has many. It's like I guess you could say it's like a tentacruel. It's like an octopus. There's one central topic, the body, but there's many sidelining topics going out. I guess you could say, diverging from this path. Saying that, there's no pro players in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yes, there are players we look up to. Yes, these are good players because of what they've done for the game, number one, their innovation, their prestige, I guess you could say, and we look up to them. But does that make them pro players? I think not. I don't think they make money. You know, I think pretty much all those players have jobs. They can't be self-supported from playing the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then again, you get into the whole thing, like I said before, with the, you know, looking up on my phone, and it's saying that, you know, a pro player is someone that's playing a sport. You get this entire thing entangled with it saying that is Yu-Gi-Oh! A sport or not? You know, that's a different topic for a completely different day. You know, is Yu-Gi-Oh! Considered a sport? And then if you want to get into that, well, look at other card games. They make money. You can make a living off of that by poker or whatever. Yu-Gi-Oh! You cannot. And those games are considered somewhat of a sport. Maybe not Pokemon and Magic, but poker to some degree, I guess you could say, could be considered a sport. Especially high-stakes poker. So, saying all this, and I know this video was very confusing, very long, very rambly, etc. I don't think there is such thing as a pro player in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you can't make a living off the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! By itself. Even if you're a YouTuber like me, or any big YouTuber really. Saying that also, is Yu-Gi-Oh! A sport? We could argue and disagree about this later on in a different video. You know, in conclusion, also we can draw conclusions that some players do hold some certain players up in very high regard and look up to them a little bit, maybe too much, and hold them to a status that, I don't want to say unhealthy, but maybe they're not deserving. I mean, that's not the word I'm trying to say, because they are deserving to some extent because of what they've done, but I can't find the word right now. I'm at a lost for words, I guess you could say, but we can find a conclusion that trends can happen from these players. But does that make them a pro player at the end of the day? No, it doesn't, because you're not making money. You can't have a sustainable income off Yu-Gi-Oh! Just saying, sadly. It would be nice if you could. Then I'd probably be a millionaire, maybe, right? Yes, just saying. So, tell me down below, guys, what do you think? I mean, what do you think? Do you think there's such thing as pro players in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh? I think that there are good players in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh. I guess you could say these players that we hold up into high regard, great players or icons. I think that's the perfect keyword. Not pro, so scratch out pro and put icon in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, or a great, you know, like the Pro Football Hall of Fame. These were the great football players. These were the great soccer players, the great golf players of Yu-Gi-Oh history. You know, these are people that we look up to, we admire for what they did. I guess that's the terminology we should start using. Icons and greats instead of pro. Just a thought. But till next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling. Tell me what you think. Do you think there's such thing as pro players in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh? And do you think that the better term to use is an icon or a great? Because yes, they have this prestige, but that's more considered a term like a great person, a great player, you know, a great football player, like I said, or an icon of the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess you could say. Like Yu-Gi-Moto himself, I guess you could say, or Seto Kaiba. But till next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling. I know I'm repeating myself over and over, but it's a topic you can really talk for a while about and have a discussion about, I guess you could say. So take care, everybody, and have a great day. Take care, everybody.